Okay, thank you ladies very much for joining me today. It's lovely to see you, and it's lovely that the technology has worked. And happy National Women's Fly Fishing Day, 27th of June. It's great to have you all on board. Obviously, we all work very closely with Sportfish, and Sportfish as a company are really keen to get more people into the sport of fishing, particularly more kids and ladies. So I just thought, what a great opportunity to get like-minded female anglers together and just talk about what we do, why we do it, and hopefully with a goal of inspiring other ladies into the sport. So let's make a start. Let's talk about you, what got you into fishing, and who, if anyone, inspired you. Lucinda, shall we start with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been fishing for around nearly 10 years now, and I was introduced to it by my partner. He took me out, and who inspired me to fly fish. Well, when I started fishing, I just used to go out with a spinning rod, and we're in the river one day, and I seen this guy, and he was doing all this stuff in the air. I was like, wow, what's that? And my husband went, listen, you don't want to know about that. It's too complicated. And I was like, no, I need to learn about that. And ever since that day, it's just kind of inspired me into the whole fly fishing journey.
Brilliant, brilliant. And you teach as well?
I do, yes, as well now. So I ended up doing I've done my coaching, which I know you've done as well, Lucy. So I've done that with the Angler and Trust level 2. And then I've recently qualified as a double-handed spear casting instructor.
Amazing. Gosh, amazing. Joe, tell us about you and who inspired you to fish, if anyone inspired you specifically to fish.
I kind of got into fishing, probably it's going to show you how old I am now, about 25 years ago, when I was a wee teenager, but I'd met a boy. I'd like to say it was my grandma or, some kind of nice story like that, but it was just because I met a boy, and went fishing with him and learnt to cast lures and stuff. And then in my early 20s, went traveling and was in New Zealand, and that's where I discovered fly fishing and fly tying, and kind of like never looked back from there. So I've been fly fishing ever since, really. But when it comes to inspirations, I suppose when I was young, there wasn't really that in terms of women out there. I think there was obviously April Vokey and Claire Carter were the two I remember thinking, wow, they're out there doing it. So yeah, I think they're probably the two I would say inspired me a bit to continue to fly fish. Yeah.
To try, to keep going. Fabulous. And Emily, what about you? Tell us about you and, maybe who inspired you to fish.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone specifically inspired me. I didn't grow up with fishing at all. No one in my family fishers, but I got a job with Frontiers Travel, and they do a lot of fly fishing trips. So I was photographing those trips, and my first trip was to Slovenia, which was very cool.
Oh, beautiful.
I know. And watching clients fish these like crystal clear waters, and you could see the trout on the other side, and yeah, it was incredible. So I don't think there was a specific person that inspired me, but just being on that river in Slovenia and seeing people fish was amazing.
Yeah, and being able to target them is just incredible, isn't it? And watching them come up. Oh,
yeah, seeing everything was very cool.
What do you love most about it, ladies? Jo, we'll start with you. What do you love most about going fly fishing particularly? Well, any type of fishing, but fly fishing particularly.
Yeah, I think because I really love tying flies. I really love it when I manage to catch something on one of my own flies.
Yeah.
For me, that's kind of like rounds it all off, from tying to casting to catching. But it's a great way just to get out in nature, just sit and breathe. But I really love seeing things up close. So when if I'm lucky enough to catch something, I just love to hold it and touch it and look at it closely and see how amazing, nature is.
Nature.
Nature.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Brilliant. Lucinda, what do you love most about it?
Just everything really. I think the biggest thing is about fishing is it doesn't matter who you speak to, you're always learning. It's not
Mhm.
one you can complete. And
Yeah.
just when you think you've cracked something, you suss something else out. And every time you go out, you learn something new. And it's like Joe was saying about using her own flies. It's having to read water and understand what the fish's behaviours are. And that's,
Yeah.
you're not playing another human being, you're playing an animal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of like you've got to understand what their game is. And when you crack it and you catch something, it's like, yes, I've done it.
The other thing in that is a lot of people perceive it to be boring, right? Let's be honest. And you're standing there and you're just chucking the fly in or chucking the bait in or whatever type of fishing you're doing. And actually, there's a lot more to it than that, isn't there? It's certainly not boring, and I find it quite being in nature is one thing, definitely, Joe, and it's very therapeutic, and we'll talk about that shortly. But I think it's quite physical as well, isn't it, fishing? Or it can be quite physical, for
I think
sure.
there's a
You're always
misconception that a lot of
moving.
people think that fishing is just sitting and flicking maggots in the water, but
Mm,
that's one thing about fly fishing is that you're always on the move, you're always walking, looking
Yeah.
for the next spot, really.
yeah. Or thinking, right, what will I try next? Or will that work? Or, right? Yeah. Go
Joe,
on.
can I just drop a really quick one in for any ladies that are actually watching this? And I know a lot of us always go on about our diets and getting fit and stuff like that, and people see fishing as sitting on the bank. Have you actually gone out and looked on your phone to see how many steps sometimes you do in a day and how
Yeah.
many calories you've actually burned? So
Yeah.
it's exercise in disguise.
Yeah. Love that. Exercise and just I'll use that one. That's great. But it is, isn't it? We never stop. We never stop. And by the end of the day, you're shattered. Yes, you've been in the fresh air. Yes, you've been moving, but you've been thinking all day as well. Like, right, what's the water doing? What's the fly life doing? What's the weather doing? It's certainly not boring, is it? It's always there's always something to think about or do. Emily, what about you? What do you love most about it?
Yeah, I think all of the above that
Yeah.
everyone said already.
Yeah.
And obviously for me, working
Yeah.
for the company I work for, you get to travel as well. So I've always loved travel, and you get to go
Yeah.
to some pretty amazing places with fishing, really.
Where have you been, Emily? Obviously, you mentioned Slovenia. Like, I mean, I know you've been to some beautiful places because I've seen your Instagram and, it's phenomenal, as have
Yeah.
you two girls as well. But where, because obviously you work for a travel company, where else have you been?
Where have you
Slovenia
not
was
my
been?
first, right?
Where have
I've
you not
been,
been?
I go to Iceland a lot, so that's probably my
Yeah.
most visited destination. I have been over
Yeah.
to Alaska, been to the Seychelles,
Oh, wow.
Spain, different places in Europe. So yeah, I just feel very lucky to be able to go and experience those places. And like you say,
Mm.
fishing is different in this country on different bits of water, but also in different countries, it's so different. You always learn new things when you go there.
Absolutely. And I know Joe in particular has done a lot of travel. And I guess, with fishing, it's who you meet as well. It's not just where you go, it's the different people you meet. And I think Lucinda and I talked about this not so long ago. It's like fishing brings us all together. Like, doesn't matter where, because our backgrounds are all very different, but it doesn't matter where you've come from, it's one golden thread that runs through us all, which we can all connect and align with, can't we? Which is lovely. What do you think are the biggest challenges or boundaries for ladies getting into fishing? So we're obviously all female anglers. It's not a super popular sport, pastime. When I first started fishing, there was absolutely no ladies around. And even 10 years ago, I don't necessarily think I could sit down like I'm doing today and talking to, three other gorgeous ladies on this call about fishing. But I suppose, what do you think the biggest boundaries and challenges are to get more ladies in the sport? Emily, can we start with you?
Yeah, I think when I first started, what I found quite difficult is every bit of water tends to be, you need a license or you need to speak to someone who, you've never met before, you don't know, you Google it, you can't find things. So especially where I grew up in Weardale, which is up in the sticks, it was hard to find where you could fish. And a lot of bits of water are also syndicates, so they're obviously all taken already. So I'd say definitely one of the like entry level problems, I guess, is
Yeah.
just knowing where you can fish, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's it. That's it. I think you're absolutely right. I think you've totally hit the nail on the head. I think it is hard, you know, when you're completely clueless where to start.
Mm.
Lucinda, how about you? What do you think are challenges and boundaries for ladies getting into the sport?
I don't think it's too bad, really. I think it's quite an accepting place, especially, you know, yourself, if you go to the still waters, a lot of people are there and quite happy to help you. And I think sometimes they get excited when they see girls there. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
brilliant to have more girls in the sport.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of just don't agree with them. I think fishing, it's until you know how to fish and get into fishing, sometimes it's a bit of a delve as to where to go, where to
Yeah.
start, and what to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Joe, any thoughts?
I think, yeah, I mean, very similar to what Emily and Lucinda have said. I mean, I was very fortunate when I started out that obviously I was with a guy that knew a bit of stuff already. I would definitely think if you're a woman who's seen people do it and really want to have a go and don't have that connection with a guy that maybe already does it, you may feel a little bit nervous about approaching a more male dominated sport area. It may prevent you from going, but I would say that in all of the times that I've been fishing or coming up through the years, most of the people that I've met, whether they're male or female, have all been really accepting and helpful with advice in the right
Brilliant.
direction. But
Yeah.
I think there's we are lucky now that there are more women seeing the benefits of it, and there's definitely more accessibility in, you know, maybe female only clubs or groups or days out that you can kind of get involved in.
Yeah.
Now we've got so much social media, it's really easy to find it, so I think it's getting better.
Yeah. No, it's brilliant. No, I completely agree with that. I think, excuse me, like I say, a number of years ago, it was more difficult in terms of unless you had a parent or a friend or, you know, someone you knew to take you fishing. But these days I do think, yeah, it's a lot more accessible for sure, which is brilliant. Just when we're on that, actually, there is a section on the Sportfish website for anyone who's listening to this today who might be interested in trying fishing. It's an advice and like a beginner's guide section, so it's certainly worth a look at, just a point in the right direction more than anything. Next question. As anglers, we all know how important fishing can be for our mental health and well-being, and we've talked about this so many times before. And, you know, all anglers know this. Maybe if you're a non-angler, you don't know because you've not experienced it for yourself. But we did do a survey a little while ago, and 97% of customers said that fly fishing significantly improved their mental health. So just talking around mental health and well-being, Lucinda, can I ask you that question, and can we talk around sort of, you know, fishing and mental health and well-being and how it helps to get out there onto the water?
Oh, absolutely. It's, I mean, obviously, everybody who knows me in the fishing world knows I think massively about mental health, especially men's mental health as well. Fishing's actually made me medication free. I suffered from anxiety and panic attacks since at the age of 20. And it literally, I found that going out fishing, it was a distraction and let me know that I could actually control what was going on in my head. The surroundings kind of just, you get that reassurance, that calm and sort of comfort and feeling like you're sat at the river and you've got the white noise of the river. You'll be sat there, and we've all seen it where an otter might just come out and he's just going about his life, and or a deer crossing the river, and you think, do you know what it is? You just get really caught up in that moment, and it just offers you such a good feeling inside. And do you know, I just think as well is so many people suffer from mental health, and at some point in our lifetimes, one of us is probably going to have a difficult time at some point. And I think that there's a lot of people on the rivers and a lot of guys out there who do struggle with the mental health.
Yeah,
and I think it's such
absolutely.
a good place to be.
Yeah, 100% agree. 100% agree, absolutely. And amazing that fishing has helped you so much. And I think all of us, you know, in one way or the other have or will 100% experience it. Joe, how about you?
yeah, similar to Lucinda. I think, like she says, that at some point in our lives we're either going to be affected or come close to somebody who's been affected by mental health. And I've had my times in the not too distant past where I was in quite some dark places. I even considered giving up fishing because there was that link there to the problem that I had. But I wasn't going to let that kind of rule my life. So I thought, no, I'll keep at it. And it's just a great way to get out and just forget all the issues that you've got at the moment. Just breathe, just take it all in, and remember where you are, and it makes you feel a bit more grounded. And I think I'm very thankful for having it, really.
I absolutely agree. I think it just makes you switch off, doesn't it? Because as we said earlier, you're so focused on what you're doing in that moment that I think for that period of time you're just able to switch off, and I think it's just a wonderful experience to have. Emily, how about you?
Yeah, I think also at the end of the day, it's a skill. Like, you put a lot of effort into being able to fly fish, especially. I mean, I spent hours in a field practicing casting, never mind on a river.
Brilliant.
So I think when you do finally catch that fish, or get your cast how you want it to be, it makes you feel good. And I was going to say I've never come off a river feeling bad, but that would be a lie, because when you don't get that fish, you do sometimes feel a little bit grumpy.
When you lose the fish is the worst thing, isn't it? When you lose it. Oh, it's so frustrating, very frustrating. But no, absolutely. I totally agree. And one thing I must mention is we're all aware Sportfish do support and promote a number of mental health fishing charities, Fishing for Schools, the Mayfire UK project, and of course Fishing for Heroes, who I'm heavily involved with as well as a number of other charities, including the Angling Trust, Atlantic Salmon Trust. And more information can be found, of course, on our website for anyone who's interested in those, sportfish.co.uk. My second last question is, if you could change anything in fishing, what would you change, and what would you like to see change in the future? So, Emily, I'll come to you first, because you're sort of the last of all of us to get into the sport. So I'm intrigued as to what your answer will be.
Obviously we're talking about International Women's Fly Fishing Day, so obviously getting more women into the sport. Like, I travel a lot, and there's a lot of men in the sport, so it's always nice to see other women. And I think for me, when I travel, the thing I notice the most is people get so focused on the one species that they want to catch, they don't take in the entire experience. Whereas for me, I also love photography and wildlife and everything else. So I think people will sometimes come away from a trip and they'll be disappointed because they only caught 5 fish, when in their head they wanted to catch 6 fish. And I always say to people, don't give yourself a number, and try and enjoy the whole experience, because like you say, you've got incredible guides usually who've guided those places for God knows how many years. You learn a lot from them, and you're in an incredible place. So that'd be my thing, to just appreciate the whole experience when you go.
That's a really, really good one. Rather than going out with one goal in mind, like literally enjoy everything about it. That's a really, really good one. Lucinda, thoughts?
Not too much really. I just think just sometimes with a little bit of fishing, I think sometimes some clubs need to just come a little bit more forward into modern times with things, and kind of accept that. I mean, yes, social media, it isn't all bad. It does carry its good things. I mean, look how we've all met each other, mainly through social media. It's opened up whole new doorways for us all. And just come more modern to the times, that it is, like you said, there's more women coming into the sport, and luckily we've been well received, and guys like to see us on the river. So just keep going as we are.
Nice, lovely. Jo, anything you'd like to change or see change in the future?
I don't know if change is the right word, but I think it's all great having these women Women Fly Fishing Days, it's great. But what I'd love to see for it to be the norm, that it's not a big deal to see a woman with a fly rod.
Nice.
You know, that I've been tying flies for a long time now, and whenever I'm tying flies, I will guarantee I'll get at least 1 or 2 people come up to me and go, "Oh, lovely flies. Oh, do you fish yourself?" And I'm like, no, just do this for fun. But you know, it's like, of course I fish. I wouldn't be here if I didn't. But it's like, it's amazing. Oh my goodness, there's a woman who fly fishes. I mean, it'd be great to see that it's just what we do and it's not a big deal anymore.
And no one bats an eyelid, like you turn it up in the water and it's no one looks twice. But I do think that's getting better. I really do.
You know, I'll share a story. I was out with a friend of mine fishing for pike a few months ago, and I was casting. There were these old boys down the river, and I could hear them really clearly. And I was casting away, and they were going, "Who? As a woman, as a woman." And one of them goes, "Well, they can do anything these days, can't they?"
Did he? Oh, that's fantastic.
It made me giggle, and I was like, "Can you hear what they're saying?" He's like, "No." I was like, "It was very funny. I'll share with you later."
I love that Joe's accent's coming out again.
Joe has the best accents. The best one's the Geordie one, though. You must do the Geordie one.
No, I'm not doing that today. I'll probably get hate mail.
Oh, it's fantastic. No, it's fantastic. It's better than our accents, the Geordie one. It's brilliant. Well, look, before we wind up, ladies, and I'm really hoping that we have inspired other ladies particularly to give it a go just through our stories and our experiences, I should say. Is there anything else anyone would like to say before we wind up? Anything we've missed, or, you know, if you're thinking about trying to inspire another lady to give it a go, is there anything that you'd like to mention?
I'll just say, if you're a woman out there who wants to have a go, but you're nervous,
do it.
Just do it. Just find
just
something.
Do it.
Like we've just mentioned, you know, social media is so widespread now. You know, speak to somebody that you follow and just say, you know, get some advice. Where can I do it? You know, just do it. You'll be glad you did.
You will. And it's that thing about, if you don't try it, you'll never know, right? Unless you give it a go, like with anything, try it. And then if you hate it, well, don't do it again. But yeah, absolutely agree. Lucinda?
Yeah, do you know, one thing I've noticed as well since I've started doing lessons, how, and God, guys are even going to admit this, women adapt so much quicker to fly. They understand it.
Yeah.
They deliver in such a quicker time than men when it comes. I mean, all of you must have been with a girl at some point, a lady, and just do something and explain it. And a girl will go, yeah, okay, I'll register that. Whereas a guy, it's straight away like, oh, let's get all my strength and get this long line out. And let's catch all the fish, like you were saying. They're so driven by distance and numbers, and where women are like actually taking it in and listening.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So obviously Lucinda, Joe and I are all angling coaches, instructors. And you see that, don't you? I'm sure Joe's seen this as well. Like, you see that men, bless them, are all about, a lot of the time, about that brute power and I'll launch it out there, and women, I found the same. They do tend to listen more and are a bit more methodical, I think is a good word to use. But yeah, no, 100%. Joe, have you seen that as well? Have you seen and experienced the same?
I not so much. I mean, I'm not I haven't done a lot of coaching. I'd love to do some instructor training one day, and you know, so well done, Lucinda, for getting your qualification. That's awesome. But I've heard that women make good what am I trying to say, students, because they're not kind of clouded by trying to cast it as far or be the best or trying to prove something, you know, which is good. But
yeah, no, 100%. Emily, any final words from you on National Women's Fly Fishing Day?
I was just going to say, every guide I've ever spoken to is like, women listen so much better. But yeah, I was just going to say the same as Joe. I mean, you know, social media is the easiest form of communication, I would say. So just, you know, drop someone a message if you are interested, and I'm sure they'll be able to point you in the right direction to where they can get started.
And just on that, underneath this video, you'll see all of the tags for all our social media accounts as well. So by all means, if anyone wants to reach out, please do so, and we'd be more than happy to help. Well, thank you very much for joining me, ladies. That was super interesting and also great to hear everybody else's experiences.